Document 0305 is then our final fraud impact once we've done the analytical. Now in this document, what is going to be pulling through is all of our fraud risks that we have recognized. Now the planning process was all about identifying those fraud risks, and then we needed to address those fraud risks with procedures, looking at controls, and we've gone and done specific fraud procedures in various sections. Now this final fraud impact is kind of like the last step in the risk register, for fraud risks. And what it does is it pulls through, once again, all of the fraud risks that we have recognized in the audit, okay? And it's again asking for a hyperlink to the specific work that you've done on that fraud risk. So at the finalization of the audit, hopefully it's a case of just picking up the audit programs and popping in those hyperlinks. But it is asking, as you can see, a number of additional questions about these fraud risks. The second question is here under Action 3. From the record of work done on the fraud risks, have any actual fraud risks been, has any actual fraud been identified? The whole point behind a fraud risk is we're saying there is a possibility of management intent to misstate or misappropriate. So now we've gone and done a procedure because we've said there's a fraud risk. And think about those estimates that we discussed a few weeks ago. If we're saying that there's potential fraud in management's estimates, go and do the procedures. Has management tried to misstate? Did you have to put through some sort of a material journal because the client had tried to misstate the figures? Have you actually found fraud? Have you actually found collusion to defraud the company, steal money, steal assets? Okay, so there the question is just simply yes or no, were actual fraud risks identified? Now if we say yes, I'm going to make the next one no, you'll see that it changes the highlighting. If we say yes, there's an actual fraud that was identified, has the matter been appropriately reported to management and those charged with governance? So have you included it on your management report or not? Okay, and you'll see that it actually then provides a reference or hyperlink to that communication. So if you've got a management letter, you can just hyperlink to that management letter. Maybe you set up a little discussion document and you can just then document or hyperlink to that discussion document to say these are the agenda points that I'm discussing with management. Okay, and then again, because we're dealing with a fraud risk which involves management, we do need to go and consider, is this maybe a reportable irregularity? Because we've now uncovered fraud, we just need to cover ourselves. So if it's yes, does it constitute a reportable irregularity, yes or no? Again, if I say yes, sorry, I just want to do the comparative yes-no so that you can see that cells are changing color based on the questions that you're answering. So if it's not a reportable irregularity, you would need to do more. However, if it is a reportable irregularity, has the matter been reported as such to management and those charged with governance? Okay, hyperlink to that communication. And has the matter been reported to IRBA, yes or no? Okay, there is a reportable irregularity working paper and we'll look at that in a moment, but that's the process. So we're still dealing with this fraud risk. We're saying yes, it's a reportable irregularity. What have we done? There are reports that we need to submit. Okay, we need to report it to IRBA. Okay, if we have reported it to IRBA, reference it. Okay, if you don't report it to IRBA, then you need to document reasons why it has not been reported to IRBA. Hopefully there are very good ones. Okay, then lastly, for every single risk, there is also a question relating to money laundering. Does the risk relate to money laundering and financial terrorism, yes or no? Now the idea here is if I say yes, and I'll say yes to a few of these items, then there are additional procedures again that we need to do related to money laundering, but that's sitting on the next sheet. Things were getting a bit chaotic on this one, so we've moved it onto the next worksheet. Okay, let's go to the next worksheet, and you'll see here we continue action 8, 9, 10. So document that risk. It's just pulled through the risks again from the previous working paper. You've got space to go and add any additional money laundering activity issues that you may want to list, and then go and hyperlink again to the record of work done for money laundering and financial terrorism risk. Go and do additional procedures. Okay. It's also saying that it's an automatic reportable irregularity. Okay. Refer to IRBA's guide to go and look at it. Have your reported matters. So the next bit is all about reporting the items, reference to communication with IRBA. It's a little bit of a repetition of what was in the previous sheet. However, just going on a little bit further, it's now asking us specifically in Action 13, does the matter meet the criteria for reporting in terms of the Financial Intelligence Center Act and the POC Data Act and the PREC Act? So there are a lot of reporting requirements. So if you're getting to this point, you need to be understanding what those requirements are, refer to the communication, or if you don't have a communication with them, please give very good reasons why. So there's a lot of questions here just about the flow of when should I report. If I do, hyperlink to that report. Again, there's no use having a loose document in the file and there's no link to why you have this report in the file. This just creates a little container for you to go and make reference to all of these reports that you're sending in for various reasons. Now, hopefully you don't have too many of these in your clients, and hopefully you're not sitting with too many fraud risks in your client. So this should be a fairly easy and quick document to complete. But the point is, if you do have these fraud risks, you do need to be making consideration on these various items.